Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 4D podcast. Introducing your co-hosts for this evening. You know him. You hate him. He is Liam Maxwell. Our main host for this evening, the man with the plan, the kitchen chemist himself, Nathanael J. Levinson. And the man on the sticks, you know him, you love him. It's me. It's Greg Prenz.
You just hear that? It's the studio audience. Boo.
I feel like my intro was objectively the worst intro. You're setting me up for failure.
It's okay. You get to do that with your
know
turn.
you hate
Also,
him.
my middle name's Jay.
Okay, well, in my defense, this is my first time ever doing this. This is our first time in the studio.
Well, was the Jay like a joke, or do you not actually know my middle name? I'm legitimately
joke.
asking. I'm not doing a bit.
I have no idea what your middle name is.
Oh, it was a joke. Is Jay for joke? Nathaniel, my joke to you, Greg? Or Nathaniel Joke Levinson? Is that what you're saying?
Unreal, man.
No, my middle name is Simeon.
I thought it was
Not like a monkey.
Producer just taking shots at both of us off the rip.
It's okay. He'll have his turn. He'll have his turn in the hot seat.
Yeah, we'll remember this. Okay?
I mean, when you produce, you can, right?
Producer
you have
Greg.
the freedom to do whatever you want.
Should be seen and not heard, Mr. Prince.
Well, I'm in the host seat today. I think that means I get to drive.
That's right.
That's
well,
true.
hey, well, then if you're driving, lead us.
Yeah.
Sir. Lead
All right.
us.
Well, welcome to the dearly debated deep dive, aka the 4D podcast. It's a whole new dimension in entertainment.
Love that.
This is kind of a spin-off / parallel series to Dearly Debated, where we're going to be doing, usually in Dearly Debated, we go over like a series or a really large group of things. We spend like a little bit of time on each one. And this one, we're going to be taking like a real deep dive, either one film or maybe a pair of films like we're doing today, and just kind of digging in real deep. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll be rotating who's doing what. So, sometimes I'll be behind the chair hitting the sound bites. Well, you'll know that that's happening because you're going to hear a lot more Darth Sand clips.
I'm gonna steal some. Like I haven't had the time to upload all of your sound bites. Like I have mine in here, but I'm gonna steal at least like some of the ones that I really like, the good ones.
Yeah, sure.
Me.
Yeah,
I had to do them in person until then.
Yeah. We're just gonna have to do our own. We'll do live Darth Sand for you guys. But to start off, well, okay, so we were going to watch the new Flash movie. Mm-hmm. I bought tickets, and then I found out it was releasing 2 weeks later. So I was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to the movie tomorrow." And Greg's like, "I can't find seats to the movie tomorrow." It's like, "What's going on?" So I check it, June 16th. Oh,
I think the greatest part about that story is the fact that like you actually bought those tickets. Like
No,
you can now go and watch the movie.
No, I got a refund on that because I bought 3 tickets
16th.
because my brother Joel's going to go with us, but he won't be in town. So Ethan and I will probably still go see it.
You could have just given them to me.
I would have taken them as well.
It was foolish of me. I freaked out. I was like, "No, the tickets are." What have I done?
I freaked out.
It's like I got a refund, so I'll just buy them again. Not a big deal. It was the convenience store, so I lost $3. Oh no.
So is that next Tuesday?
It's next Friday, I think.
Flash comes out next Friday.
16th. Yeah, it's next week. It's like
Okay.
Thursday.
So what are we?
It's Thursday.
What are we? Why don't you tell the
We're
people
talking about
what
the
we're
Flash.
doing?
So we're not doing the Flash.
Yeah, we've told people what we're not doing.
We're not doing the Flash. So the Little Mermaid just came out.
There we go.
As much as I've complained about all these live action Disney remakes, I actually haven't seen any of them.
Me either.
And
Wait.
that's not true. I saw the live action Mulan.
Wait, okay. We have complained about these a lot, guys. I
You're not
seriously,
supposed to say
we
that.
have not talked about. We haven't seen.
Haven't seen a single one.
I've seen bits and pieces of a lot of them. Okay, we'll get to that. We'll
Let's
get to
assume.
Lion King, but like that's not even live action. It's all animated. But anyways,
So you hate these movies? You haven't never even seen them.
why don't you try watching the movie? Okay, Tomas.
That was a really good accent. I think you should read it, Greg. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. But I did see live action Mulan, and I had a lot to say about that one. But so we decided, well, it's probably worthwhile, especially because we look back fondly on the animated movies, but when's the last time you actually watched most of them? I mean, I've fairly recently watched Aladdin and Mulan, but I don't think I've watched the Little Mermaid, the original Little Mermaid, in 20 years. So we thought it might be worthwhile to look at them both, back to back, the live action and the remake, and compare them. Does the live action, is it as bad as I think it is in my head? The answer might surprise you, or it might not, depending on how you feel about these things. So we went to the movie theater. It was like a time of recording 2 days ago. No, what was it? It was
Yes.
yeah, 2 days ago, and
Yeah, it's
the
correct.
air conditioner was broken.
Oh my gosh, man.
It was like 85
It was a
degrees.
sauna.
And it was terrible. But I was just like, okay, this is the first 4D experience. They're giving us the heat of the Caribbean.
4D, literally.
Right? Literally
Yeah.
4D experience. They're giving us the heat of the Caribbean to put us in the mood. They didn't give me like
I was definitely
a pina
in the
colada
mood.
or anything.
No, they
that
did
would have
not.
gone a long way.
Yeah.
If they had just like given me a pina colada and put in some like ambient wave noises, I wouldn't have complained at all.
Yeah.
You'd have to be in your like your button up shirt that you unbutton with.
Oh
your
yeah,
hat.
my Hawaiian shirt that I just wear
Yeah.
with the, displaying
You should've-
my
I was actually sitting there thinking
amazing
I was
amount of
sad
chest hair.
that I didn't have a shirt like that.
I mean, I was wearing my flip flops, so
No, it was really bad though.
Yeah,
like we're
as
joking
far
about it.
as,
It was
like,
so hot.
movie
to
aside-
put it in context, I got a drink because I love popcorn, and a drink is an important part of going to a movie theater movie for me. Like people are like, oh, I'll bring other snacks. No, I just want popcorn and a drink, usually either Dr. Pepper or cherry Coke. I finished my drink, and Liam and Greg spent their whole rest of the movie just eating the ice
Eating the
that was
ice,
left over in
putting
my
it
cup
down our
because
shirts.
they're just like so hot. They're just chewing through this ice.
I rubbed it on my my forehead at a couple of different points.
It was
after I chewed it up, like I would chew
brutal.
up the pieces,
Yeah.
and then Liam would put them on his forehead.
yeah. It
But
was,
I'm gonna do my best to separate that from the movie, because the movie
Right,
going
yeah, no,
it's
experience
true,
I've had
yeah.
better.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
It didn't help the first impression movie,
didn't.
but I mean, so do you want to start with the original or the remake?
Yeah, original for sure.
Original for sure. All right.
original,
Well, the original is about 30 minutes shorter.
More.
It's an
More.
hour.
It's an
It's
hour.
an hour 20.
50 minutes shorter.
It's an hour 20.
Yeah.
And then the new one is 2 hours.
I
and
have
20
no
minutes.
idea where that extra length came from. I watched them back to back. I'm like, what did they add? There's nothing. How did it? I don't know what it was.
It actually
felt
feels the
longer.
opposite. It feels like they missed important
Right.
points
There was-
of the original. It was
Exactly.
weird.
And this is why I think maybe we want to start with the remake, because there were some key plot points that they changed. Well, okay, let's just go through. I mean, if you haven't seen The Little Mermaid in a while, 1989.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen it in a while, it's a very straightforward story, right? Ariel is one of the daughters of Triton. She's obsessed with the human world.
I'm fascinated by it. Obsessed is a little much.
I think she's obsessed.
pretty obsessed.
She's pretty obsessed.
Really?
It's like all
She's
she.
pretty
It's
obsessed.
like all she talks
all
about.
consuming. It makes her like she misses the most important event of her life, the concert of her debut concert. She misses because she gets distracted by searching the ship.
Would infatuated be a better word?
It's kind of a synonym.
You got a problem with this obsessed?
I know
word.
what's wrong with saying she was
Keep going.
obsessed.
It's okay.
I mean,
She was obsessed. Nathaniel, I'm with you.
Okay, so she's obsessed.
she's
Continue.
obsessed. She's fixated on the human world. Triton's like, no, bad. Human is bad,
Human's bad.
right? And she sees fireworks, swims up. She's got this grotto where she's keeping all this human stuff. She swims up to the surface and sees fireworks. Then a storm shows up and knocks Prince Eric overboard, and so she saves him, and falls in love with him immediately. We can talk about that, but falls in love with him. Triton finds out, nukes her stuff, and so she goes. So Ursula's like, "Ooh, I can make you human." Gives her 3 days, takes her voice. She's got to kiss Eric. True. They make this point that it has to be. It can't just be any kiss. It has to be true love's kiss. So maybe if it was like, oh no, a goodbye kiss, like mwah, mwah, on the cheeks, and
you
that wouldn't fulfill it.
You
But
see what I thought? I don't want to be. Never mind. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
let's just finish the plot.
Okay.
So she goes onto the shore. She and Eric are getting along really well, and Eric becomes obsessed with finding the girl who saved him, and the only thing he remembers is her voice. She doesn't have a voice, so he's like, "Oh, this can't be her because she has no voice." But then, the whole thing of him throwing his flute in the ocean is he's decided, this girl that I'm with now that's real is better than this imaginary girl that may or may not exist. Which is like, it's actually a good plot point. Like Grimsby like walks him through that. It's like, yeah,
Grimsby's him.
yeah, Grimsby's a Chad. And then, but it's funny. Like at that moment, Ursula's like, "Whoa, they got way too close. They almost kissed." So she goes up there and just straight up cheats. Right? It's
And
not
she's
just that she shows up.
fine, too.
It's not just that
comes
she.
back as a babe.
Yeah, she's fine.
It's
Can we take a moment and just appreciate that Ursula
that Greg is
and
thirsty.
no,
I know it was hot in that movie theater. Greg.
No. I really did. Not even the real one, the animated one. I looked at Liam. I'm like, I just kind of want this to happen to me. You know, like
Do you hate gingers?
I want a
You
mermaid.
hate your own kind?
I want a mermaid.
How could you do this, Greg?
But I thought you said that about the kiss the girl scene.
Yeah, of course.
So the whole thing you kind of
Thing is, like,
you wish you were Prince Eric.
You gotta like pull back a
Yeah.
little bit because she's 16.
She is 16.
She's 16.
But
Well-
is Ursula's beautiful form?
I mean, you assume
Is-
Prince Eric is like 18, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so.
He's super young too.
But if she's a cougar, she could be 30.
That's why they.
I mean,
wrote,
Ursula's
say?
definitely like 50.
Yeah.
All right, so continue.
But anyways,
the plot.
my point of that is she's cheating because she doesn't just like show up with Ariel's voice. She also bewitches, like the golden glow goes in his eyes, like he's under a spell. So she's just straight up cheating.
Well, I kind of thought like, isn't that the whole thing with mermaids? Like they're sirens, right? They
Yeah.
put people.
Well,
under,
Ursula's
under,
an octopus, arguably.
but she stole.
She's
the
a
siren.
cephalomade. Octopuses are cephalopods.
I've never heard that word in my life.
Now you have.
Or just now. It's
Octopuses
very
are
impressive. That's what we
cephalopods.
have you here.
Oh, a cephalopod.
Yeah, cephalopods. Octopuses and squids. That's a true fact. What is that word? Get out of here.
Here's the fart sound.
It's too sciencey. It's too sciencey.
No, you just need the from Revenge of the Nerds, the guy just going, nerds!
All right, so finish the plot.
Yeah, and so Eric gets bewitched. And what was interesting to me, I don't remember, you'll have to remind me in the remake, but in the original, Scuttle like wakes Ariel up on the third day and is like, "Oh, I heard about the wedding," and then
It's much worse than
No,
that.
scuttlebutt.
it's so much worse than that. But yeah, we'll get there. But Scuttle tells her, "Oh, you're getting married," but then it turns out it's Ursula, hot Ursula, thoughty Ursula, and
Thirstula.
Thirstula. It's Thirstula. It's Thirstula. Well done. It turns out it's Thirstula. But then it like fast forwards through the entire day to the evening where they're actually getting married. And I like, what was she doing that? There's no, I wish there had been a scene where she tries to win Eric back, but she just like, it seems like she just gives up instantly. She's like, wait, she's with another woman? I'm done. It's over.
Well,
it's all over. It's all over, lads.
That's the same in the live action.
Yeah,
too. I think
it
it's the
it
same.
fast forwards through that whole day, which is a little weird to me.
Yeah.
But anyways, they find out it's Ursula. They get on the ship. They break the shell. She gets her voice back, and Eric's like, "Oh, it's you. You're him. Her. You're her.
You're her."
And then they go to kiss, and literally right then the sun goes down. She turns back into a mermaid. Ursula grabs her, goes into the sea. Triton agrees to swap, like hostage swap himself, which.
What a dad move, though.
I mean, Triton. Let's be honest. Triton's a good dad.
Triton's a good dad.
Like
Yeah.
he goes overboard, but you understand what he's doing.
Protective. He's very protective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he he apologizes and he makes amends and he's willing to sacrifice himself for his daughter. So I think Triton's a good dad.
Triton's probably him.
Yep. Triton might be him.
They're all him. That's the secret.
Except for Ursula.
Wait,
Scuttlebutt
Triton's
is
him.
not him.
Always has been. But yeah, so there are a couple changes that they make from the original. Anyways, let me finish the plot. Anyways, Ursula gets Triton's trident, which has the power to control the sea, and
Big.
Eric swims down and like throws a harpoon at Ursula, which is a pretty Chad move. Let's be honest.
Dude,
He barely hits her though. To be
No,
fair,
he scrapes her,
he's
but
also,
that like pisses
he's-
her off.
He's
Yeah.
a dude.
Yeah.
He saves Ariel. I mean, she's like about to get skewered.
Yeah.
And he,
So he
That's dope.
Ariel swims up to him. She turns huge, makes a big typhoon, which sucks up all these shipwrecks. Eric climbs aboard one, and Ariel ends up at the bottom, like on the sea floor in the middle of the typhoon, and or the maelstrom, I should say, in the middle of the maelstrom. And a typhoon these are different weather events. Okay.
yeah, that's better.
Okay. Anyways, the whirlpool. You guys suck. Bruh. Okay. Sorry that I like that words are important to me.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize for that.
You give me the bruh.
I'm not pressing the button. Okay?
You're looking at him. You're
I had never. I hadn't
you're an
done that.
I would never do
enabler.
that.
It's on camera.
You're an
I would never do
instigator.
that. It's on
camera.
You're
I
an
didn't do that.
instigator.
I've never done that.
Anyways, the point is, she's on the dry land in the eye, and Ursula's trying to zap her and doesn't notice Eric steering the ship into her gut, kills her. Everything goes back to normal. Triton gives her legs, and they get married, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And the remake is almost beat for beat the exact same,
Except
for there are a
Took up
few.
so many good
Yeah.
points. All right, let's hear your thoughts first on this because everybody's just going to want to jump in here.
Yeah. So there's no point in going over the plot of the remake because it's almost 100% exactly the same.
Yeah.
The major difference, I think, is that Eric's motivations are different. So in the original, he's just a kid he's just got wanderlust. He just wants to adventure,
Yeah.
right? And Grimsby's trying to get him to settle down, but he wants to go out and sailing and have adventures and things like that. And he's like, I'll meet the right girl
It'll
and I'll
happen
know
when it happens.
Yeah, I'll know when I meet her. And then in the remake, he's like trying to expand the culture of his island because they didn't really explain it that well, but like his dad, he's adopted by the queen of the current island he's on. And
Clearly.
his dad apparently was like a shut-in and closed off their island. And so he wants to expand trade and culture, which is, I thought his motivations were fine. Like,
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
thought that, and they also explained like, that's why he's always on these sailing vessels. So that's why he's a good sailor, which they completely ruin at the ending.
Well, and I think they wanted to make him like mirror her in a way, kind of like he's essentially how she's feeling, but on land. Like he feels very landlocked. Like he wants to go out and experience.
They gave him
the
his own
sea.
song.
He wants to go out and experience the sea, like she wants to go out and experience land. I would say though that like the end of the movie, like I don't know what the compromise is there. He's not like, well, I'll just turn into a merman. She's just like, well, no, I'm just gonna be a human. And he's like, all right, well, now what?
Now we're gonna go sail places that you can no longer swim in. I don't know. I didn't understand where they were going at the end. Did they explain that?
kind of
just like a sailing off.
Yeah, they just
into
like
the
they sail
sunset
off and they're like,
vibe.
oh, we'll miss you. Like,
It's not a very
where
big
are
island.
they?
I mean,
No.
if you're gonna honeymoon,
No, the island was tiny, but like, where are they going?
it's a very diverse
I
tiny
didn't
island.
know.
Let me tell you.
Oh man, that was funny to me. It's like, oh, here's this tiny Caribbean island. It looks like downtown Los Angeles. You've got Asian people and Hispanic people and black people and white people and just everyone. It's just this huge melting pot. Like this must be a happening Caribbean island. Like no. This has always been this way. They're trying to expand out to reach other people. Like what? And also the merfolk at the end were also ridiculously diverse, which is reasonable if they're coming from all over. So
Well, that was a
one
part
thing I
that
have to-
wasn't in the
that wasn't in the original.
animated. Yeah,
No.
the whole like going to that marketplace, which is kind of fluff.
Yeah, it was fluff. That
was
that
fluff.
definitely added. That's part of the added
Yeah,
50
yeah,
minutes.
it was.
It was pretty fluffy. But it was funny. I was like pointing at all the fruits. I was like, some of those are not tropical fruits. I don't know where you got those from.
Science guy.
Yeah, I had some stuff to say about some of the science in this one. I was like, now granted, it's a fantasy animated movie. Like I'm not going to get on like, could mermaids exist?
Let's hear some of the science behind
Okay,
mer people.
Bruh. The less said about that, the better. I don't want to get crass, but like going to the bathroom would be totally different
For mermaids.
For mermaids going from mermaid to human. I'm just saying there's some things she would have to learn. Like who's teaching her those things?
Yeah, that's a good point.
There's a
Let's
lot.
unpack that.
There's a
No,
lot.
okay.
more.
So here's one of the things
if
about
we're
that
gonna
world.
take this show in
Here's
that
one of the things about that
direction.
world that's like really, really dark. Okay, that they show a little bit more in the animated one, just because they can't like they can actually display emotion on the animals. Is the very opening of the first one? They're hauling fish on board.
Yeah,
And one of the fish gets away, and then it's just like, whoo, I didn't die. And you're like, so all those other fish are like thinking, feeling individuals, and they're all going to, like, could you eat a cow if a cow was like,
hey, I'm Gabriel.
hey, how you doing?
Nice to meet you.
If a cow was like, hello.
No way.
Hello, Liam.
No chance.
My name's Joe. I'm Joe the cow.
I have feelings. And
Are you going to
emotions.
eat me now?
I would
Yeah,
never.
right? So if you knew like cows were capable of that, right? Please don't eat me. I have a wife and kids.
I would never do that.
I've got 3 calves back home.
I would never eat you. That would never happen.
I'd be a vegetarian. Although, then you get the Alice in Wonderland. Well, even the plants are sentient. What do you eat? What do you like? What? What's the workaround there? Right.
Hello,
And even
Calais,
Ursula's eating like the
Calais.
little shrimp, and the shrimp have eyes, and they're like trying to get away from her. So apparently, all the sea life is sentient. Which I saw a great note. So that shark attack, all the fish are sentient. So someone's like, that was an assassination attempt. That shark knew. That shark wasn't like going to eat. That shark was targeting Ariel's life.
Right.
The shark was oppressed, and it has a whole story of its own.
There's gonna be a spin-off on the shark, I heard.
Yeah, it's called The Meg 2. Coming to theater near you. That one's apparently. I thought the Meg 1 was that one didn't have a theatrical release, and the second one is getting a theatrical release.
Yeah.
Man, sitting through the trailers nowadays is almost as brutal as sitting through the bad
really
movie.
bad.
It's really bad.
We
I'm
came a
watching-
little late to the movie, and we both still
Honestly,
caught all
we
of the
could have
previews.
gotten later, and it
unfortunately.
would have been a little bit better.
That was so
Yeah, we
good.
know how it was.
These trailers. Man, they just don't make good trailers anymore.
No, they don't.
Like even trailers are bad, and you're like, well, that's the entire plot of the movie.
None
So
of
I
those
don't need
movies
to
looked
watch.
good. That we saw
Anyways,
trailers for.
back to the Little Mermaid.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, okay, these are some of my.
Yeah, give me your thoughts. So let me just, in a nutshell,
Sure.
the new one was not super offensive. It was fine. Like it was a perfectly functional movie. I thought it wasn't very pretty,
Yeah. Well,
but like the plot worked fine. The songs were fine. The two new ones they added were bad, but it was a fine movie. It was mediocre. It didn't make me hate it. However, going back and rewatching the original, every single thing they changed was either neutral or bad.
Oh yeah,
And and most of them, especially there was one particular change that just completely ruins the ending. But so like Sebastian in the original, he's a famous conductor, a composer. And so like all his musical things make
all
sense
makes sense.
because he's a composer.
Yeah.
And this one, it's just like, well, of course it's David Diggs. He's musical.
Right.
Like, but that's not Sebastian. That's David Diggs.
Yeah. That shows up a lot in Kiss the Girl.
Yeah.
'Cause in both movies, it is like him coordinating this effort to like make the ambiance nice. And in the live action, it's like, oh, I guess he's just good at that. But then in the animated, it's like, oh yeah, Sebastian would know how to do that.
Granted, it's not like it's a Disney movie. Everybody can just break out in song at any point, so it's not shocking. However,
what's funny is
it just you had a story that made more sense. Why would you change that? Like he is a composer. It just seemed a very silly thing to change.
What's funny is there's always this line where it's like, is this song actually happening? Is it just a song for the sake of the movie?
Right.
Or is it actually happening in the universe? So like if you watch a musical, most musicals, when they're singing a song, the characters are not actually singing a song. It's just like,
Right.
it's just part of the play.
Yeah.
But in this one, they imply that when he's playing Kiss the Girl, like that's actually happening.
Right. Like,
Like he's actually hearing Sebastian sing this in his ear. And he's never at one point like, he does say, do you hear that? But it's like, he's like, so you're
He's like-
I'm not the only one hearing the music, right?
He's like, wait just a freaking minute here.
Now
He's like,
hold-
was
now
I
hold a
crap
minute.
singing to me? He's like, Jesus Christ.
It's Jason Bourne.
The guy was like crawling on his shoulders
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like, how do you not feel that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that when like there's motivation with him being like, hey, we have to make this music in order for him to feel, like all the goosebumps to go and kiss
Yeah,
this girl.
yeah.
So like,
And,
the motivation, like there was a reason to make part of that. I mean, that doesn't
yeah.
bother
And
me.
Under the Sea too, again, because he's this famous composer, it implies that he's like actually live directing the music. This music is actually happening in the world. It's not just them singing.
Right.
Like I think, when in Aladdin when they do Part of Your World, isn't Jasmine humming it later?
A Whole New World.
A Whole New World.
Haven't
Well,
seen it in a while.
in all of the movies, the main song is the through line. Like in the
It's the
animated
through line,
one,
but
Eric is like playing the song she was playing on his
Right,
little
right.
flute
So
or
in this
whatever.
one, in this one's particularly, but sometimes, right, the song is just the song, and the characters don't necessarily interact with it,
Sure.
other than the music existing at the same time as they do. But in this one, I think that the songs are actually happening.
Yeah, they're ingrained.
Like, like she's actually singing to him on the beach,
Yes.
which you think like
wake up.
that's a little weird.
That was happening. That was unfortunately happening.
Oh my god. Okay, so that was some things that they added. They added 2 new songs. They added a song where Eric was basically Eric's version of Part of Your World, where he's like, "I want to get out of here." It wasn't very good. I mean, it wasn't
I actually
I would like to be part
really
of your
enjoyed
world.
that
And
song.
then they just switch. They just
My take is I really enjoyed that song that Eric sang.
here's the Liam hot take of the
I
week.
liked it a lot.
I didn't think it was terrible.
Yeah.
I thought it was like it just wasn't. It didn't catch me. It was just
That's fair.
Fine. It wasn't too long either.
functionally useless.
It was fine. The Scuttlebutt song made me want to die.
That was
Horrible. And I like Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I actually like Awkwafina. That was an abomination, and they should both issue a national apology, public apology for that song.
I will say
it was
it's
awful.
I will say this though. So I'm like not on the Aquafina train. Like she's like at first I was like, hey, like she's kind of
She was great in Crazy Rich Asians.
She's kind of zany. Yeah, I think
But the thing is, she plays the same character in every single movie.
right. Like, and at first I'm like, okay, I get it. She's different. She's zany. She's charismatic. But again, yeah, the same character in every. She's very self-aware. Very like the Scuttlebutt song is like that's just her. That's just hey,
Right.
what? Oh wow, yeah, I totally under. And it was just like a punch in the. And I promise you, till that point in the movie, I was sitting there and I was like, you know what, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I got a lot of negative reviews from this movie, and again, functionally useless. And I went and watched the original afterwards, and was like, wow, the original is amazing. This one's so long and boring. But when it got to that point, I was angry that I had wasted money. To see the movie. I was actually kind of like I was like, why do you make things like this? And then I'm sitting here paying for it like a chump.
This is outrageous.
Dude, listening to that song in the 90-degree heat, I started having like a mental breakdown. I was like, am I really here?
Liam, tell us.
Is this what I'm doing every night?
So the movies are very similar, but the new one added some stuff. It took out some stuff. What are your thoughts on it?
So I'm gonna go on the I liked Prince Eric in the live action movie.
Yeah, I
really did.
thought he was good too.
Well, you liked
also-
his song, or like you just liked?
I liked him.
I thought they did a good job with this character because the danger I thought was he just we'll get to the thing that happened at the end, which was had nothing to do with his character though.
Correct.
But they could have just made him just like a useless simp, just garbage human, a garbage male character, which Hollywood has been doing for a long time.
Yeah,
but they didn't. They made him pretty much the same Eric, just with slightly different motivation and explaining like why he's a good sailor.
Yeah,
that was fine.
Yeah, so a lot of my viewpoints are going to be very character driven. I liked Prince Eric. I thought the new Ariel was very charismatic. I have no complaints about her. I thought Flounder was so underutilized in the live action. He's so fun in the animated one.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, and this is the problem that Lion King had too, is like, it's a fish.
I know exactly.
There's
that's
no
exactly
facial
what I was
expressions.
Thinking. The facial expressions were huge. It was also what was mostly funny about the animated one was like Sebastian's facial expressions, or like Flounder, like being like a guppy, being like a scared guppy with his face. None of that could be portrayed in a little tiny flounder fish or like a stupid crab.
Science break. That wasn't a flounder. Flounders are flat and have both eyes on the same side of their face.
There we go. That's what we come for.
What was that? It was, I don't know. It was some sort of just like coral fish.
Maybe it was just named Flounder.
Yeah. So, but why would you take the name of a different fish?
I don't know. It's like when you name
maybe he was
your
a place.
dog like
maybe
fish
he was a
or
place.
something.
We didn't look up what a place was.
Wait, hold on.
A place.
The place play the bass.
When you name your dog fish,
it's like ironic. There's like irony to it. You name your dog Cat or something. You've never heard of this?
Does that look like Flounder to you?
I haven't.
No, but that doesn't look like Flounder in the animated one. But I'm not going to get picky about the animated.
The animated one, he's not a flounder either.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's literally just a fish. Like, and this is the problem with that. Almost all live action animal movies have is when the animals talk, they can't express emotion because there's no facial expression to read.
You know what? I just think they needed to get a better fish to act as.
They really needed. I mean,
because he had no charisma.
They need to shell out for the big bucks for the really charismatic fish.
Yeah, I know Disney has a lot of money in this. The fact that they got that,
you know what?
They needed to get the George Clooney of fish, and
Disney's got a lot of freaking fish laying around, guys. And
this is what we ended up with.
We got robbed.
See, the problem is Flounder was clearly like someone's cousin or nephew or niece, or
there was nepotism involved.
There's definitely nepotism involved. There were more talented fish available, but one of the executives was like, "Hey, you need a fish for your movie? I know a fish.
Flounder is
my nephew is a very very nice fish. He can do this job."
I looked up Flounder's IMDb after, and that was his first role.
Yeah,
and it shows
clear.
Yeah. What else was I going to say? Oh, Ursula.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Melissa McCarthy.
It's funny because a lot of people are saying
I
that's
am
the
a fan
part
of
they
Melissa
liked.
McCarthy in some movies, but
especially the one.
We'll talk about that later because it always comes up. Yeah. But no, just not in this one. I wasn't feeling it.
Yeah,
she had big shoes to fill. That was the problem. So okay, this is what I'll say about.
I thought Ursula was almost exactly the same. Obviously, I I like the animated version better because she's more expressive. I thought she did fine.
She was definitely more menacing.
Yeah.
Like there was a more like very menacing overtone in the animated one. Like there was a lot of spooky stuff.
Yeah.
I guess in
She's
Ursula's thing in the
terrifying.
live action, there's like skulls, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many skulls. That was
skulls, I
one
guess.
change that was weird because in the animated one, she just turns them into the little
souls.
the little
poor unfortunate souls.
Yeah, the poor unfortunate souls. The little like eye stalk.
They look like
things.
the
Is that what they are?
SpongeBob
That's what they are.
trying to get chocolate person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. Chocolate. I remember chocolate. So sweet. I
Soundbite.
hated it.
Hit that soundbite.
I don't
chocolate
have
You
it.
have a chocolate soundbite?
I don't have a
What
chocolate
are we doing
soundbite.
here?
Oh,
You don't have a chocolate
I thought
soundbite?
you had that.
Guys, I through this.
I thought you had that lined up.
We thought you were a professional, Greg.
I thought that was the number one soundbite. I
It's
requested
fine. It's
that.
fine. We can work through this. It's okay. We're professionals. We can overcome this shortcoming. Greg's shortcomings, 2 over 1 will outweigh his shortcomings.
Yeah. Grow up.
Unbelievable.
Grow up,
This man. He's trying to sink the ship before it's even launched.
Saboteur.
He's sawing holes in the hull.
He's a saboteur.
All right. So what was I even talking? Oh yeah, the eye stalk things, right? They show those little,
They should have explained that those were the poor unfortunate souls.
except they weren't.
In the animated one, you're saying?
In the
Oh, you're
in the
talking
live
about
action one,
skulls.
she was just killing people.
Yes.
No,
just-
'cause they all
just
did.
No, they show it
roasting.
because in the animated one, when she gets Triton, she turns her
Oh.
into one of the eye stalks. But in the live action one, she just kills Triton, just like nukes him into ash.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they all come back when the trident falls. They all come back to life. So
In the animated one, in the
No,
live action
in
one, no, in the live action one, it was only Triton.
no, there was a bunch of people swimming out.
I don't remember
I
that.
thought-
I don't remember. No, I don't think so.
I don't
It
think
was
that's
just Triton.
correct.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
No, I don't think you're correct.
Yeah, Ursula's just like icing people.
Yeah.
Denied.
Yeah,
There was
she's
no,
she's
and then at
cold.
the
Huh.
end, like of the animated one, they came back to life.
Yeah.
Right? I don't
Yeah,
think that
when-
happened in the
when-
live
yeah,
action one either.
That
It
didn't
was just
happen
Triton.
as far as I remember, which was 2 days ago.
Which was
so.
2 days ago. So that's a problem if that did happen.
But
We don't
and I remember watching the animated one today. I was like, oh yeah, that didn't happen in the original or
Yep.
the remake.
I thought the same thing.
So that was one change they made. They also changed it so that instead of it being a physical like scroll contract,
Yeah, I need to talk about that part.
She had to like pull a scale off and
Yeah, okay. One, like first off, that just looked worse.
Yeah.
mean, who liked seeing the scale get ripped off of somebody and then like the blood in the water? I was like, gross. One, like you could have left that part out. Two, the contract made sense,
Yeah.
right? Because then there's the point where he's like trying to shoot her, and she blocks it with a contract, and she's like, "You see, it can't be broken because it's a contract."
yeah, because it's like this one was just like, oh, mystically because she made this agreement with me, you can't hurt me. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I didn't like that. I was trying to get Liam's thoughts before I went in.
I have one more thought.
Okay, tell me your thought.
Just it was funny, and I think we find this with a lot of Disney animated movies, like the classics. It's like there's
Not
it's
the
like
live action.
not the live action.
Okay.
The live action was not. was the opposite. of funny.
for you over here.
I was like,
Well, I've had hot takes before. Maybe that was mine.
True.
Maybe I was just chuckling next to you guys in the movie theater the whole time. But like,
No, I think you were sweating.
I was focused on that. Yeah.
I think you might have been.
It's like I was
crying
giggling.
at one point.
I'm 20.
Were you crying?
That's
at one
not
point
true.
Next to me.
That's not true. I wasn't crying. Anyway,
It was sweat. It was eye sweat.
yeah.
Sitting from where I was. Anyways, go ahead.
I'm a
sorry.
26-year-old man, right? And I'm giggling. I'm giggling at the Little Mermaid. There's some fun stuff.
Bruh.
I think most of it was the facial acting of the animated animals. And Scuttlebutt was like pretty funny in the animated one.
It's
so
Scuttle.
annoying in the
Just
live action
Scuttle.
one.
Just Scuttle.
I'm gonna call it Scuttlebutt.
Because Scuttlebutt is the name of the song, and that's
It's a
going to
really bad
confuse the
song.
audience, and then they're going to be like, "Oh, he thought the song was goofy and funny." And I mean, I'm just looking out for you, but your call.
Okay. I'm going to continue to call it Scuttlebutt, though. Scuttlebutt was great in the animated one. Sebastian, Flounder, they drove the humor in the animated one. There was devoid of humor, the live action. That's my final thought.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have very similar thoughts, and you'd pointed this out before we got into the series of kind of analyzing original Disney movies and then watching the remakes, is that they're probably going to fall into one of two categories, right? They're either going to be not as good as the original because the originals are great, or they're going to be functionally useless because it's just going to be a shot-for-shot remake, and you're going to say, okay, that didn't like offend me at all. It wasn't terrible, but why? It's just worse in every way because it's just remaking. So you get a lot of that, but I was shocked at the things they left out, like her relationship with Flounder in the original is super charming, right? Like Flounder is like her ride or die kind of, like she's super upset at the one point he comes into the cave or the room or whatever and he's like, hey, are you all right? And it's like, just even that right there they could have added so easily, but I think they realized how silly the fish looked in live action that they were like, we can't have this thing do anything, like it's going to be a background thing just skipping along the water.
He was literally just like
and
there to provide commentary. He did nothing.
and it's like, and that's the problem, like you have to think. And Sebastian suffered from this too, because I thought the voice acting for Sebastian was actually pretty good. But again, after then watching the original, I was cracking up every scene Sebastian was in because his facial expressions are amazing. I mean, like there's way more animation in that than a real person's face could even try to be. I mean, you see this contrast with Ursula and Melissa McCarthy, where sure, I mean, she might have done a fine job, but compared to the animated, grotesque, like giant, like Joker looking smile of this hideous woman, you're like, well, nobody can pull, like this woman's so charismatic in the cartoon that the live action, you really needed somebody to hit it out of the park, which is why I thought that I probably hated Melissa McCarthy's performance the most, because I was like, you're kind of dealt a bad hand. Main girl did good. I thought she was a great Little Mermaid. I did think the change with Eric was at the end was silly for a lot of reasons. So the main change.
So this is a spoiler. Kind of, because the overall plot, it is basically a beat for beat remake of the original with just some very minor things that don't change the overall resolution of the plot. But like Sebastian is just a king's aide. He's what I don't remember what title he used, but he's basically just the king's aide, the advisor or whatever. But in the original, he's this famous composer. One thing I noticed they changed was when they get in trouble, when Ariel gets in trouble with Triton the first time, it's because Flounder let slip that they went to the shipwreck, because he mentions the shark, and Triton's like, yeah, it means you were at the shipwreck. In the original, he doesn't care about that part. He says, oh, we were talking to the seagull, and it's like, seagull, you went to the surface.
Right.
Which made more sense.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So I was like, that was a pointless change they made, because that actual scene, like the shark thing and the scuttle thing, that plays out shot for shot, the exact same dialogue, it's 100% the same. No changes.
We'll talk about the change at the end that we're going to get to.
Yeah,
and talk about
the big change at the end.
change.
The big change at the end is that Eric and Ariel's parts in that final fight are switched, where Eric functionally does nothing, and Ariel's the one who drives the ship into Ursula, which basically makes Eric a completely passive character for the entirety of the movie.
Right.
Which kind of kills his character. Not because his character isn't developed properly, but because they just take all his agency away, and so he's just there.
And it's not even like it made so much sense to have him driving the ship.
Well, especially because in this one they did a good job of establishing the fact that he's a sailor.
Right. Like he's a human who actually can sail. And she is a fish person. It's never been on a boat. And they're like, you know what? She should drive the boat into Ursula. And I'm like, for whatever motive you have, like what you have to stop and just look at it just bothered me, because it would have helped the story to have him be the one to save Trident, because then at the end, when he comes back to life, she would have been able to say...
That made no sense either. He's just like, back.
She would have been able to say, it was Eric that saved you. It's not like, hey, you saved me. And she's like, well, I had some help from Eric.
Except she didn't. He did literally nothing.
Yeah, he said, hey, hold my hand. And then they kind of
hold
like...
the cell.
He's like, hold my hand when they were up on top of the chick's crown.
Oh, and that was another
off,
thing.
And then they let go of each other's hands right before they jumped. And you're like, good call, dude.
On 3.
Really.
Like, we need to jump together. In the animated one, they just look at each other and jump, which is, how you would react. You'd be like, oh, we need to get down. Wee!
100% though, they did that because they knew they were dogging him. Like, they knew that they were taking away his big moment where he drives the boat. So they're like, hey, let's have him act like he's somewhat in control of things and act like he takes her hands. Like he still has his Chad moment where he shoots the bow underwater or the harpoon. But it just you annihilated so much to have that. And it's like, Ariel's already been a great character. Like, she saved him at the beginning. She's kind of tough and rebellious throughout the whole thing. And it's like, no, we also need her to, with fins, climb onto a ship.
Flop around
on a ship and then direct the ship like she knows what the wheel is and she knows what it does. So far, every kind of human whatever that she has, she thinks it's the wrong thing. She doesn't think it's actually like right. She thinks it's the dingle hopper. She thinks it's a whatever. And all of a sudden, she's like, "Hey, that steers the ship." And then she steers it.
You also noticed they took out the tobacco pipe.
They did. Intentional?
100% intentional. And I'm
Good point.
speculating. But from my understanding, they're really, really serious about tobacco depictions for whatever reason in kids' movies. So it's like it's automatically bumping you up a rating if you have tobacco use.
That's a good point.
So they cut that out completely.
What do they call it again?
Couldn't even begin to remember.
It was like
The bard.
the snarfle black.
Snarf black.
Snarf bladder.
Snarf black.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
It was the
Yeah.
snarf black. Man, legend. Well,
Greg loved that part.
Dude,
Greg was
I-
giggling like a schoolgirl when they said snarf black.
I just like the word. I mean, like, and that's the thing. Okay, so what's her name? The one who played Scuttle and the
Awkwafina?
Awkwafina. So on top of me just not being a fan of Awkwafina, I wasn't like appalled at her performance. But then watching the original, I don't know who the voice actor is. Some super old. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Like he is his. I'm cracking up in every scene. Like the beginning where he's got the telescope backwards, and he's like, oh, sail this, and he puts it down, and she's right in front of him.
And he's like, oh, what a
wow.
swim.
He's like, wow, what a swim. Like it's just the crap cracked me up where she didn't have that same charisma, and also. Science person, you need to tell me like how long was that bird underwater?
Okay, yeah. So when they first meet Scuttle, she like dives underwater
And has like a full on conversation.
and has like a 10. It's not 10 minutes. I'm exaggerating. It's like, but it's like a minute plus conversation. So let me go real deep.
all right. We gonna get some
Sound
science.
is an acoustic wave that travels through a medium, right? That's why in space no one can hear you scream because there's nothing for the sound waves to travel through, right? That's why explosions in space doesn't really happen. In water, sound waves actually travel really, really, really well, but they don't transfer from air to water well. So sound waves do not transfer from air to water well. So like if you go underwater and scream, it sounds really, really, really muffled because the energy is not being transferred properly from the air to the water. So if you were breathing water and you screamed, you would hear it very crystal clear. So like when they make underwater speakers, they're just like membranes that vibrate in the water and you can hear really, really well, right? So seagulls breathe air. They have lungs. So when Awkwafina is talking underwater, she's talking with air, which means you would not be able to hear a single word she says. It would sound like, if that. First of all. Second of all,
Unbelievable.
She's
can't
clearly
believe they
not. There
mermaid this way.
are zero bubbles. So unless this is the first seagull to evolve gills, Houston, we have a problem. And it was like there was no reason for them to have that scene underwater. They could have just done it like they did in the original, where they're sitting on the rock. There was also there was one thing that really bothered me. It was during after she deposits Eric on the beach and then doing the last bit of part of the world and then does the whoop on the rock.
Deposits.
Right? She does the whoop, the very famous.
Yep.
In the original, she's just like lying down and then she just like picks herself up, like she does up dog, right?
What's up, dog?
Exactly. I swear, it was really weird. In that one, she's like on the side of the rock, and then she just like shifts her hands, but her body's like being dragged across the rock. It's weird. I don't know. It looked like someone behind the scenes was like pulling her across the rock, and she's like slowly shifting. It looked really weird. I have no idea what that was, whether it was bad CG or they were like physically moving her body across
bad
the rock.
CG.
It looked really weird. It was like disconcerting. And the CG was like very meh for the most part.
There were some bad pockets
There was some
of
bad.
CG.
There's some bad CG.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm gonna go ahead
On the
and
mer
just
people, there was-
I'm just gonna say all the CG was ass.
It wasn't great.
Dude,
It wasn't great.
It was awful, dude. I mean, this was one of my gripes early on when I was like, hey, this isn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. My prevalent thought through that I was like, what the thing that actually is that bad is the CGI, and the problem is that they try to accent it. Like you go back and watch these animated Disney movies, and there are tons of parts where they're like they're focusing on the scenery because they realize that it's quite a feat that they've animated something this big and brilliant, right? So you have Beauty and the Beast. There's all this emphasis on the ballroom and the chandelier because you can still go back and watch and be like, wow, the animation is impressive. Like it still holds up to this day. Whereas now we have like angry animators at Disney being like, hey, they're not giving us enough time to make these movies. They're just asking us to pump them out. So it's going to be bad. So you know it's going to be bad. CGI has gotten worse over the last few years for some reason. And they're like, hey, let's have 3 minutes flying through poorly animated water animals that kind of have faces, that kind of are trying to be real animals, and really focus on that. And you're sitting there like, I watch Planet Earth. Like they don't look anything like this. And they spent so much
David
time.
Attenborough is so disappointed in you right now.
I feel like they were patting themselves on the back, like, dude, look at how beautiful this is. People are gonna love it. And
No,
I'm sitting
no
there like,
one-
this is a long screensaver, and I'm getting bored.
So here's one of the problems I had with that. So when they're doing the under the sea part, right, in the original, he's going through all of these fish does this, and this fish does this, and this fish does, and they're showing like those actual fish playing their instruments, right? In the remake, it's just like a bunch of random ass sea creatures, none of which have eyes. It was like jellyfish and starfish and a bunch of, you know, weird manta ray things, but none of it had anything to do with the words Sebastian was saying. None of it.
Nope.
None of it.
They were
So I
riding
was like,
turtles for a little bit.
Why not just recreate those? Well, because they were like, okay, how do we get a realistic fish to hold a trombone? And that was the problem. And that's why this was a bad idea.
That's why stuff works better animated sometimes.
That's what they
you can't-
realized. They were
'cause if
sitting
they
there
tried to-
making this movie, and they got to the point, they're like, wait, hold on a minute. That
Hold
that
the
fish
fort.
is going to have to hold a trombone. They're like, screw it. We can't do this.
They're like, should we scrap the whole thing?
Also,
They're like, "No, we're in
unless
too deep."
Ariel is part clownfish, she was grabbing
Possible.
stinging tentacles of jellyfish. I'm just like, don't grab that. Don't you, Alexander dumbass, don't grab the tentacles. That's the part of the jellyfish that stings you. Don't
Maybe she has superpowers.
don't do that, you.
You don't do that.
She was very strong. I thought I pointed this out to Greg, and then he overruled me.
She's not.
She's
okay,
dragging Eric.
No,
And
it was
as quick as she wants to the surface. Is that not like pretty impressive?
No, she has.
So the thing is, it's actually not that hard to pull a human through water because they're
Thank
buoyant,
you.
Okay.
right? So you
Nathaniel
can
could pull
pull.
you.
I mean, I could easily
Well,
pull you. But
yeah.
I'm not. I'm not
That's a
120.
different
I'm not a
argument.
120-pound woman.
That's a different argument,
So,
dude.
but yeah, no. So you know, if you get someone in a good hold, you can very easily pull a much larger person than you through water if you're a good swimmer. Not quickly.
That's good science.
Well, although she has fins, so. But yeah, that part.
Have you ever even swam?
That's good
Liam?
science.
Yeah,
I don't know how to swim.
bro, have
I've
you ever been
already
in one?
told you this before.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, I don't know how to swim.
I
This is
think
news
he's
to me.
lying. He's lying.
There's no way.
We were just on a boat.
Yeah, I had to use I had to use the floaties though.
He swims. He's
Don't you
fine.
remember that?
He's fine.
He had the little.
That's why watching this movie was a
the little
tough,
rubber
tough watch.
ducky.
It was a tough watch.
He's
for
just
me.
getting his hydrophobia was kicking in.
I
He was
felt like
no.
Ariel. I was like, I want to feel how the people that know how to swim
He
feel.
actually sang every word to that song during that part because I know why now.
I felt it. I felt it deep in my heart,
Deep in his hole.
deep in my hole. Cut that out. Are we live?
Cut the tape. Cut the tape.
Can I bring up something that they
That's his
didn't
hole.
have in the live action?
Yeah.
Hit me.
La Pue.
La Poisson.
Was it
La
called La
Poisson.
Poisson?
Greg was bringing that up. I'm actually okay with him cutting that.
Yeah.
Really? You don't
It
like
was
that?
fun.
It was fun, but it doesn't add anything. So
It was less good.
It doesn't add
It was
anything, no.
not as gooder as
It
I
also
thought it
also
would
like
be.
amplifies the kind of horror of
Yes.
Yeah.
of the fact that these
holy
fish are
cow,
sentient,
yeah.
and then he's just like ruthlessly murdering. Like he's a monster.
Yeah.
It definitely
It is a little
is
dark.
like a very abrupt, like when you're watching the animated one, on top of being
There's
I mean,
there's like
pretty
blood
darn-
too when
I-
when he cuts the fish. There's like a blood splurt,
Rips
and I
the
was like,
bones out.
damn.
like the
It's
whole
like Mortal
the
Kombat.
first two verses are him talking about like what he's doing to murder these fish, and it's Sebastian
pretty brutal.
reacting.
It's like
the
Mortal
crowd
Kombat
would
level.
React.
Yeah, and Sebastian's like, those are my friends and family down the street level. Like it'd be like if you ran into cannibals
it's like,
and a
oh,
cannibal was singing about how much he
Gabriel,
loved
what are
chopping.
you doing?
It's like
Oh,
if
you're
there was
dead.
it was like Hannibal Lecter was like singing about how much he loved chopping people up and eating their livers, and you had to sit there knowing that you're next. That's Sebastian right now, and it's
But-
really messed up. Now it's funny and haha, Sebastian's gonna get eaten because you're not supposed to think about it like that.
But it was a
But
catchy
I mean,
song.
it's pretty. It's like
he made a catchy song out of it.
also. So here's something that they never answered that I'm not 100% sure about. It seems like all the mermaids are speaking English, right? Because when she gets her voice back, she can just talk to Eric normally, right? she can also talk to Flounder and Scuttle. Does that mean Flounder and Scuttle are speaking English? Because every time in the, I don't remember in the remake, and I just watched, or the original, I just watched this, in the remake, whenever it cuts to Eric's point of view and Scuttle's talking, it's just a wah, 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 right? It's not actually
But I think
speech. Is it like a Dr. Dolittle situation? Or is just everyone speaking English? Because if it is, you can't ever eat seafood again. Because one of the fish is going to be like, bruh. Fish is going to come out and be like, you killed my family, and just like pull out a gat and shoot you and be justified in doing it.
The Dr. Dolittle scenario makes sense, I guess.
Yeah,
Well,
maybe it's like they learn to speak those, like they
Wait.
But the thing is,
Doesn't-
like Flounder can talk to Scuttle. So are they speaking? Is Scuttle speaking fish? Is the fish speaking seagull? Or are they both speaking like the sea language or the animal language that's just universal? I have so many questions about this, which don't go addressed because they're probably not that important to the plot.
No.
Whoever's writing it in either case was not thinking about that. But I'm so curious because you would think that Scuttle could just be like,
But
"Hey, Eric, idiot, it's him."
he hears Sebastian at one
Yes,
point.
he does hear Sebastian sing, right? So,
Not crazy.
yeah. So,
But an interesting note to that is his dog doesn't speak to him.
right.
You know what I mean?
So, what are the rules of what's sentient and what's not? It seems like
Yeah.
all aquatic life
The dog is
seems
just
to be
an idiot.
sentient.
Even in the animal world, they're like, he's
Dogs are the only ones that can't actually talk. They're just kind of
the
dumb.
dog is a sentient person in the animal world. It's just dumb enough that it can't talk. They're always like, "Hey, can you just speak?" He's like, whoa,
kind of like up, it's like squirrel. Yeah, so many raises so many questions.
So, guys, we have a mutual friend, Jakob.
oh,
You guys have met Jakob?
That's right. Well, are you related to him, or he's just a friend?
Is your
like
friend from overseas?
He's like a family friend. You guys have met him, though. He came over that one time.
We watched the movie. That's
Yeah.
What movie was it? What About Bob?
It was What About Bob? And he loved, or no, he hated it.
No,
Well, he was actually on a long distance phone call with his family.
That's
back
right.
home.
That's right.
the whole time.
Anywho,
The whole
I told
time.
him we were starting this up, and he watched it kind of with us. I said we were going 2 nights ago. He's like, "I'll go at the same time, and I'll call you after to chat about it." And he wrote us a letter.
Nice. Oh,
That's very sweet of him.
He wrote us a letter and he said, "Read it on the podcast."
Oh, yeah.
So, Nathanael, you want to read
Absolutely, yeah.
the letter from Jakob?
Yeah.
Jakob's an interesting fellow, by the way.
Yeah. The new Little Mermaid is peak cinema. It contains all the heart of the original without any of the dumb animation. It's no Ghostbusters 2016, but nothing is and nothing ever will be. Speaking of Ghostbusters 2016, one note I did have was, I don't get why they changed Melissa McCarthy to be a more beautiful version that tricks the prince. I think Melissa McCarthy was better looking anyways. Holy guacamole, what a hot tamale. To those that say this movie is an hour too long, shame on you. I didn't see anybody saying that about Schindler's List or The Shawshank Redemption, and The Little Mermaid should be no different. I would have preferred it to be longer. In fact, I would have been in for a whole fourth act revolving around Scuttle the Bird. I would be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room, as though this movie has been the topic of debate in political circles. Do I think it's slightly disrespectful to have humans playing the roles of mermaids instead of mermaid-identifying individuals? Sure, as I have friends that identify as mermaids who would have loved the role. However, I think that Javier Bardem, Halle Bailey, did a great job of portraying the struggles real mermaids go through, so I'm okay with it overall. 9 out of 10, buying this one on Blu-ray. Who buys things anymore? Jakob, you need to get with the times. It's all about streaming
Jakob
now.
only watches movies on Blu-ray, by the way.
he's got a Blu-ray player.
I guess. Jakob,
He has
thank
none of the
you. I don't
originals.
know. I don't know where the reference for Javier Bardem came in. That was a little confusing, but I mean, thank you for the letter.
Keeps
That's
buying the
beautiful,
originals. He's buying the originals, thinking they're the new ones, and he's like,
He's excited about the Blu-ray, too. I think he put
Guys, have you heard they're
exclamation
making
point
an
on the Blu-ray.
animated version of The Little Mermaid? It's
Wow.
already on Disney Plus.
Thanks,
That's crazy.
Jakob. Man, thanks for
Thanks,
writing in.
honestly,
We might need
yeah.
to make this a recurring
Yeah.
thing.
If you're watching movies with us, Jakob, you feel free to send us a letter anytime.
That was beautiful. He loves Ghostbusters 2016.
I've heard.
couldn't tell.
well, he
some people
talked
are
a little
really
bit about
passionate
it when he watched that movie with us, specifically to
seen
me.
Yeah. It comes up like every time he talks almost weirdly.
It's like his point of reference. Like some people, I have a friend whose point of reference for everything is Shrek 2. So he's like, how was that movie? Well,
Right.
it wasn't Shrek 2.
That's kind of what he
And
does.
it's his like, everyone has that one movie that they love so much that everything becomes you measure everything in reference to that movie.
Yeah.
So
And he also mentioned The Little Mermaid in the same breath as Schindler's List, which was
Bold.
felt was bold.
bold.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's effectively the same movie.
He said they
Definitely-
should be
definitely
treated
bold.
the same. I think I heard that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I read that. It's a bold statement.
Oh,
We're glad that he watches.
We're grateful for all our
Thank you.
viewers.
Thank you.
I mean,
Thank you
well,
so very,
the
very
Academy might find that, given that this Little Mermaid is just so incredibly diverse for some reason. You would think of being in the Caribbean,
Dude.
you'd see mostly people from Caribbean nations. But no, there was a shocking amount
island.
of Latino and Asian representation in the Caribbean. I did not know that
beautiful.
there was that much.
Well, here's what I'll say. Like, here's my 2 cents on that, right? Because obviously, I
ultimately, like, it doesn't change the movie. It's just like a weird little thing that you notice, and you're like,
it's
why are
fine.
there like little Asian kids in the Caribbean island nation?
It's 100%. It's good to have the different representation in a movie. I think
Sure.
everybody would be like, it's great to have. But I think you still are required to be a creative person in making a story, right? And so like you have the example of Game of Thrones, right? So they don't have a whole lot of representation, I guess, in the books. But when the show came out, they were like, hey, we in order to get some other ethnicities in here, we will add tribes to where that will make sense. Like, hey, these people come from this land, so it makes sense that they're different, and this is how we're going to add them in, as opposed to just being like, hey. I mean, just imagine watching a show about an African tribe, and then there's just like a white dude walking around, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Glenn," and like they don't even address it. They're just like,
No,
it's
he'd be like, "Hey, I'm Mabuku from down the road."
It's just like it's just all these different, and so it is a little jarring and distracting when you're just like, all right, there's Asian people on this island of like 40 people, like there's 7 people on this island. All different,
And they should have all
from
looked like
different places.
Haitian or Dominican.
Yeah, and it's fine. And like
Or
you had
Cuban,
this, you had
and-
this
and
layup.
it's like-
of like like the island, the Caribbean. Like I think Sebastian is, crucify me, Jamaican.
Yeah,
Is
no,
that-
he's
okay,
Jamaican.
Okay, so you have like a whole lot of diversity going on there, but then it's still just like, but there's not enough Asian people. Let's
quota.
awkwardly
That's
put
just
one in
it.
there selling flowers.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
okay.
very weird. Very. It's just
It's fine.
It's
It didn't-
everywhere
it didn't
is a melting
distract
pot.
a ton, but I mean, it sticks out like a sore
No,
thumb.
it doesn't. And it doesn't affect the plot. Like
No,
but
not at all.
what it does reflect is poor writing and, generally speaking, poor intentions on the creators of
Yeah.
that aspect of it mattered more than them than to make an actually good product, which is generally the complaint. If you're complaining like, oh, Ariel's black, well, I don't like that because I hate black people. Like, you have a problem.
Right.
You need to seek professional help. You need to do some real serious soul searching. I think the vast majority of people who cared about that didn't care about that, and I thought she was like, that didn't bother me.
No,
honestly,
she's charismatic.
The whole race swapping thing doesn't really bother me if you make something good.
That's
And
And
always
that's
the end.
always
creative
that's
in
the
doing
sticking
it.
point is you can do it and make a good product. You can.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
But
problem.
then you have to do that second part,
You
and
have to
that's
have
the hard
characters
part.
that are
You have to
written
actually,
well.
you have to actually be good at writing to do that.
Exactly.
Turns out, casting people is easy. Writing a good script and directing a good movie, not as easy.
Well, and it's like if we're,
That actually requires
if
talent.
we're doing what we're talking about, which is changing originals, right? So it's taking an original and it's making changes to that. That obviously sticks out. And so as an audience member, you're like, okay, why? Why is the reason we're changing this? It's not just like you can't just blindly accept all the different edits and changes because you're watching this and you know what the original looks like and you're saying, okay, what are the differences and why have you chosen to go that route? And when they, from a creative perspective, hurt the film or at the very least don't like matter at all, then I think that's when people bring things up and they're like, well, why are you changing this? Like this was good. Like in my opinion, one of the worst changes is not making Sebastian a composer. I don't think it took a lot away. It makes sense. It does Disney movie, everybody sings, but it adds a lot that he's actually a composer. I think it builds depth to his character. They definitely tried. Like they didn't nuke him like they did Flounder. He's definitely a big part of the movie, despite having the emotional dexterity of like. And picture this: if you haven't seen the movie, you know what Sebastian is like. In
You
the
know what a
original.
crab looks like?
Yeah, and now
the crab
picture
shack?
an actual real crab, just up on the desk there, just in the middle of them out there, just in the middle of all the mics. There's a real crab, and that crab is talking. I mean, it is. There's nothing. You can't do anything. I mean, as good as he voice acts, there was just nothing coming out of that. And I think you could have added a little bit by being like, oh, let's stick with the story that's already there, and he's going to be a composer. Why take it out? I just
science aside. So, and they did it now. They did this in the original too.
All right, so we're about to get into a science deep dive.
Little bit of science real quick. They're just like, so when she's singing "Part of Your World," she opens this big book and is like flipping through the pages, and it's like making page turning noises. In the original, Sebastian does in the very beginning, he pulls that music sheets out of his shell and just like, right? And also Ariel has like an oil painting in her cove, like. Paper doesn't really work underwater. I don't know if you know this, but if it gets wet, I don't know if you ever dropped a book in water and then tried to turn the pages while it was still wet. It doesn't go very well.
That's a great point.
And there was one thing, and this is
Books don't work.
this is them doing CG and forgetting things. So she's talking about, all they have up there, is sand or something like that, and she's playing with the sand on this little ledge, and the sand's pouring off the ledge like it would in water, right? It wouldn't just fall. It's like, well, first of all, particles would float up, but it was like pouring off somewhat realistically. And then she like kicks off and really fast just goes boom and flies away, swims really fast away, and the sand's completely still. I was like, have you ever kicked like the bottom of a lake or something? It instantly kicks up mud, even with your weak ass human kicks. A flipper going boom, it's just sand's just going everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyways,
If you're going to be live action, at least be realistic.
At least be realistic. And
don't ask very much.
And the point is, like, they didn't think about this. And the colors were all murky. Everything was murky. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like that. Like, the original is all bright and vivid
very
colors.
vibrant.
And especially if you're in the Caribbean. Oh, here's one thing they added that padded the runtime. And this made me laugh. Okay, so Triton has his 7 daughters, right? Here's something I really noticed from the original that they changed. Until the very, very, very end of the movie, where they're like sending off Ariel.
Right.
You don't see any other mer people. You see Triton, his 7 daughters, and his 2 guards, and that's it. Whereas in the original, you see like this congregation of mer people to see this big concert.
Right.
And you see the castle and the other structures. They never show you that.
Right.
They're just like sitting on random rocks.
Yeah. So then at the end, when they come up, you're like, whoa.
You're like, where did this incredibly diverse group of mer people come from?
We audibly gasped when the one dude popped up. And he's like, it's just his abs. And
I was like, I'm sitting in the theater, and the woman sitting next to me was like, because I'm going to hold up. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Like, why didn't Ariel go for that dude?
I mean, all the mer people were just, other than Ursula, were just like gorgeous, CrossFit models.
Ursula got the short straw for sure.
She was the octopus, though. So
She thick, though.
Yeah, she was thick.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, she was Melissa McCarthy thick. Exactly.
Bruh.
Bruh. Okay. So King Triton has 7 daughters, which are supposed to be like represent the 7 seas, right? Mm-hmm. And they were all, he had like the entire spectrum of ethnicities, right? And so you have to come to certain conclusions. Either Triton has 7 wives. There's a Henry VIII situation going on, so there's a lot of mermaid Anne Boleyns lying dead. Maybe those were the corpses in Ursula's
Incest,
thing.
probably.
I don't know where incest comes into this. Or Triton is a hoe, and he's hoeing around, and these are all his illegitimate daughters.
Incest.
So there's some bad juju magumbo going on. So either he's a polygamist, which kids movie, come on, or he's sleeping around, kids movie, come on, or he's going through wives like Henry VIII, which is also not good. So there's no scenario unless he's adopting them. That's the one scenario where
Isn't he kind of like he is the ocean, and so like his daughters just kind of represent the. In which case
they
which
do.
one is
Maybe they were
Ariel?
just like Zeus. They just popped out of his head one day,
Yeah.
like Athena.
So he's a great dad,
Isn't Zeus
but
eating
maybe he's not a
babies or
great
something like that?
spouse.
Yeah, he has
kinda
a
what
good
we're
dad, but he's a
getting
terrible
at.
spouse. We'd never see it. Well, so in that one, they imply that
that the people killed.
Ariel's mother
That's a
got
big
killed
difference,
by humans.
Yeah. And that's why he hates humans.
Yes.
Obviously.
And
In the animated one, it's just, he just mentions like they hunt fish.
right.
That was like
they
his
mention that a
driving
lot.
force.
They mention that a lot, and that's an
Yeah.
important part that they didn't actually say. But the whole reason that in the remake, they hate humans. The whole thing with the shipwrecks, like, oh, they ruined the coral, and I was like, it's one thing if they're like if it's their trash, But these are shipwrecks. So it's like, no, these humans, they're ruining the coral by dying horribly at sea.
And he controls the sea, so technically he
How
killed
dare
the ship,
they?
and then their lifeless
It'll take
bodies.
years for this coral to grow back. Like, those humans will never go back to their families. You monsters. And Triton's like, yeah, that's okay. Because this coral, this precious coral that just sits there and looks pretty, it's, it's part of the ecosystem, but,
It's sentient coral.
apparently.
Now,
But-
is Triton like actually the king of the sea and like lore? No, that's
I think you say,
Poseidon.
yeah.
It's Poseidon.
Triton is, I believe,
Isn't Triton just the name of the thing? he's
no, I
holding?
think he's a river god.
It's
Or
Trident.
he might be a Titan.
Trident.
That's the gum.
It's also
That's also the name of his spear.
They actually say
It is a
they
trident 'cause
actually
it has
say
3
the
points.
fork is a mini trident in the live action ones.
Trident, 3 teeth.
But Triton, that's not like a Greek god or anything.
Let me look this up because I want to say that he is, but
Like
he's
Titan,
like a demigod.
but Triton.
Triton, because Poseidon's the god of the ocean.
Right.
So Triton is the Greek god of the sea, son of Poseidon. So
Okay. That is merit.
yeah,
I was curious.
so that checks out.
Cool.
I don't remember him having 7 daughters, but anyways, so so they kind of like they weren't really heavy handed with it because it was just that one scene, but basically like the reason in the original the reason they hate humans is because they eat fish and fish are sentient, so they're monsters, right? It's like aliens grabbing people and harvesting their organs. We'd be like, that's messed up.
Yeah.
And then in the new one, they're polluting our oceans with their 18th century wooden ships.
Darn wood. Always ruining.
It's not meant to be in the ocean, except for when it is.
All right, so so what do you think about like the actual original? Okay, so think about it as if the new one didn't exist.
New one didn't exist.
Just the original. What do you like? Where does that rank amongst other Disney movies? I mean, obviously, I think we all think it was good. What were your thoughts on it?
I mean, Little Mermaid is not one of my favorites. I like it. It's not one I run back to a lot. I don't know. It's fine. It's like a good romance, but other ones just have that X factor. Like Aladdin has Genie, Mulan has Mulan. They're just other ones that I would go to first before I would revisit Little Mermaid. Which again, because I don't think I've seen that one in a really long time. There are other Disney movies that I rewatched much more recently. So I like it. I do think the audience, the aimed audience for that one is definitely more towards young girls. So because it is the focus is about the princess, whereas others are, but also more because Eric, even in the original, Eric doesn't do a whole lot. He's just kind of there.
He's a good looking dude, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure is.
He's a great
He's a
looking
hunk.
guy.
Yeah,
He's a great looking
absolutely.
guy.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with that. I think in both of them, they kind of fall in love really fast.
Yeah, that's like classic.
Which, but I
Disney,
mean,
though.
it's like it's the classic love at first sight. Which unless you're just a cynical, I hate everyone, it's not unreasonable.
You'd like to believe that could happen.
Yeah,
to you.
exactly. You like to
Greg
believe
would.
that happened, and also
I really hope it happens
And
to
also,
me.
Eric's not like this girl, man. She was a 10. She's just like smoking hot.
No.
Rack on her. Da, da, da. No, she's like, oh, I remember her beautiful voice.
Yeah. That's
It's
awesome.
kind of
It's
a nice,
honorable.
It's a nice thing.
Yeah. It's like,
I
oh,
wouldn't be
this
so
girl
much
who
that
saved
part.
me. I remember her beautiful voice, and so and again, I think the storyline, which in both of them they did this, does a really good job of showing that Eric is obsessed with this girl who saved him, but then meets Ariel, who he doesn't know is the girl who saved him, and slowly is like, hey, this girl is really interesting, so.
And she's real.
And she's real
in front of me.
right?
She's
So I
got
can
this-
give up this
Yeah.
this fantasy to pursue something real. Now they end up being the same person, but he doesn't know that. So it's I think it's a good thing of like, here's something that's real that maybe doesn't live up to this fantasy standard you have, but it's real, so
Yeah.
it's worth pursuing.
That's a great message, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say in my rankings, I got Lion King 1 for sure.
Lion King's up there,
Lion King's 1. Tarzan 2.
bro.
Love Tarzan.
If you take Phil Collins out, I think that drops significantly. But man, with that Phil Collins
But it's-
soundtrack,
he's there.
whew,
He's there.
that hits right.
Tarzan's a banger.
I'm going to put Little Mermaid 3, and I would like to elaborate on the music, because you mentioned Phil Collins. I think Phil Collins' You'll Be in My Heart
Oh.
is the greatest Disney song of all time. but I think Little Mermaid's 3 songs.
Little Mermaid's got a big 3.
I would put-
if anybody ever asks you, but like what are the good? You'd be like, you got a big 3. You can't
got
separate them.
I
would
would
put
put Daughters
them-
of Triton.
yeah.
Les Poissons.
Hit us, Liam.
And
What's
Scuttlebutt.
what's
And
the 3?
Scuttlebutt.
What's the 3?
It's like when LeBron and D Wade and Chris Bosh teamed up. That's the big 3.
Yes.
What a nerd.
Kiss the Girl,
Yes.
Under the Sea, Part of Your World.
Yeah.
I would put those big 3 against any other Disney big 3. Lion King's got some good
That
songs.
is a very good question. What Disney movie has the best big 3? Like not just like a single song in the movie, but like has a collective 3 good songs.
So I did some research into this
Oh.
in preparation for this
Wait, we're
very
supposed to
moment.
prepare for these? Whoops.
I did my research. slow work week. I came to the conclusion there's a lot of Disney movies with one elite song.
Banger.
Right.
Okay.
Banger.
What's
Right.
the Pinocchio one?
When
I'm not a huge fan of Pokemon.
Boom.
Oh, that's the
You also
one that
just
they use
called-
for their intro.
Aladdin.
Did you just
it's
call
the
Pocono?
Pinocchio? The Poconos?
You think you just
That's
called
the
them
Kokomo.
Poconos?
That's the Kokomo song.
You're saying I did?
No, never mind. Keep going.
Aladdin.
Kokomo.
A Whole New World.
Whole New World.
Classic.
Aladdin's got a few.
But
though.
Aladdin's got a couple.
Does it?
Whole New
Maybe
World.
the Genie song?
Genie song.
Okay, that's good.
You ain't never had a
the
had a
intro
friend
song?
like me. Oh, I come
Arabian
from a land, from a
Arabian Nights.
faraway
Arabian Nights is a banger.
place where the caravan
Friend Like Me is a
cows
banger.
grow.
The Prince Ali song is a banger.
One stop
Okay.
ahead of the drum.
Now let me hit
That
you
one's
with
a banger.
That's no joke.
Is that
These
Aladdin?
guys don't know how
Is that
to
Aladdin?
broke.
That's pretty
Riff
good.
raff, street rat. I don't buy that. If only they'd look closer. Sing it, Liam. Would you see a poor boy?
know
No
this.
siree.
Well, we'll get there.
They'd find out there's so much more to me.
It's so good.
All right, tell us more
Aladdin,
about your
Aladdin has
research.
at least 4
Anywho.
bangers.
You guys done?
No.
Keep going.
Let me hit you with the big 3 from The Lion King, and my heart says Lion King has the best big 3.
It was composed by Hans Zimmer.
Circle of Life,
Circle Life, solid.
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah.
Couldn't
Classic.
very
I
good.
just can't wait to be king.
Very
And I
good.
would argue, Can You Feel the Love Tonight is also really solid.
Is that? Whoa.
And that's Elton John, baby.
Whoa, that's a big 4.
Here's what I'm going to say though. I would also put Lion King up there with arguably my favorite Disney movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm really psyched about any of the music in Lion King. Like none of those songs are like my favorites.
What? He's
dead inside.
No.
Talking
No.
about.
I love Disney music, and like the songs from Lion King aren't what do it for me. It's the if you,
It's the music part, like the
Yes,
instrumental part.
exactly.
Oh, Be Prepared, Lion King.
I think every Lion
Arguably
King
the best villain song.
That's the best song.
Every
in
Lion King song. Be prepared.
Yes, that is the best Lion King song.
That's
I think it's certainly one of the best.
that's blasphemous.
I think it's certainly one of the best villain songs.
And where
if not
do
the
we-
best.
Yeah, I think it's great, but to say it's the best, to say it's over Circle of Life, I think is just I can't stand for that.
You're telling me
Well,
that you're
it's a good thing you're sitting
jamming
down.
out to Circle of Life?
I would, yeah, yes, that is exactly.
Circle
and
of
I would
Life.
jam out to "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" like legitimately.
You've had better
I don't
takes.
know. I like.
I've had worse takes as well. This is a middle ground take for me. So I'll take it.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, so you think that? Continue with telling me why.
Go back to Little Mermaid.
Back to Little Mermaid.
We've strayed from our
So
original
you think
purpose.
it's good because you think it's big 3 music, and I'm
Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
yeah,
It
I
was
think I might be with you on that too.
I said I put it
Music
what
is S
it
tier.
was my 3rd favorite Disney movie ever. I think right now I haven't seen Aladdin in a little bit, but I put it 3.
Okay.
I had so much fun watching the original,
Yeah.
so that's kind of where I stand on that.
So I'm not sure where I'd rank Little Mermaid, but I can think of all the movies that I think are better than Little Mermaid.
And ballpark, how many?
Ballpark.
Is it in your top 5?
I don't think it's in my top 5.
Okay.
So I'll talk about.
Of course, I will say Sword in the Stone is in my top 5, and I think that's a minority take for me.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
never
say,
even-
I
I
didn't even
really
heard
like that
of it.
movie. That one, Robin Hood, Aladdin, Mulan. I think Lion King's up there for sure.
Nobody likes Toy Story. It's not really the musical kind.
But that's first of all,
Pixar.
Toy Story was Pixar before Disney, and second of all, 3D animation versus 2D animation. So I think you do separate those.
okay,
You're saying they're not in the same
I
category?
wouldn't compare them
I didn't
because
think
it's
of them
different.
the
To
same.
me, it's a different art form.
I didn't think of them the same.
So like Tangled, I love Tangled. I think Frozen's good. I don't think it's great. I think it's fine.
See, Aristocats is probably the outlier.
like
for me, too.
Aristocats.
See, I don't think a whole lot of people do, but I grew up on it, and so I feel like that's one of the few outliers that I like. Aristocats is up there.
Well,
for me.
just wait until they didn't they make that live action remake Cats?
No.
They did. That was based on Aristocats.
No, it wasn't. It was based on the
Oh
Cats
my-
musical.
Well, I will say this though: the CGI that they used in
That
Cats,
was horrifying.
where they CGI'd the people's faces onto like the cat body. like it was, it was
Idris Elba.
There
It literally
was-
looks like something from like the Twilight Zone or a horror.
There
movie.
was they screwed around with a little bit of that in the Little Mermaid, where you had animated mermaid people flopping around, and you had like a human face CGI
You know
trying
what?
to keep up
You
with
know
the body,
what?
and it was like moving and shifting around.
And I wonder
it was
that's
super
why
ugly.
they had so few scenes with a bunch of mermaids.
I'm sure it played a part.
I hope so.
I'm sure it played a part.
I bet
I
that's-
would rather there not be scenes with mermaids than me have to look at that. It was
It was pretty bad.
yeah.
There's some. So they're just like, what can I say? Rent in the Uncanny Valley is very cheap.
Yeah. This is. Or you want to finish your point about your rankings?
no.
and where it
If
falls?
you're still going on
No,
Little
this
Mermaid.
is kind of like a separate side point, but it reminded me when we were talking about what's the incentive of making a movie longer. Like, why is this movie an
is,
hour
yeah.
longer? And we were like, well, wouldn't it'd be more money to be long?
Is
Yeah, you
there
can-
an incentive to make things
see, that's
longer? Because
something
everything's getting longer.
I
And
don't understand that. And to me, you want the movie to be as short as possible because you can show it more times in the day if that's
You'd
the
think
case.
so, yeah.
You're charging the same money for tickets. So you're actually, the longer your movie is, the less money you're making per minute. So you would think that studios want to cut it down. And I think it's just because everything is just so corporatized
Well,
that you're like, you have to check Xbox, no PlayStation. Just
Check
it's a bad
box.
joke.
This
You
is
got to
what-
check all these boxes, and if you don't check these boxes, it doesn't pass. Like all the executives are like, you have to have this part, you have to have this part. You get 10 executives. They all say you have to have this part, and so when you put all that in a movie, it just bloats the movie. And I've been complaining about this the last like 5 or 6 movies I've seen.
Well, we've talked
I've
about-
complained about it. The Batman was too long.
gosh.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was too long. Ant-Man and the Wasp shouldn't have existed.
John
but
Wick 4
too
was
long.
probably too long, right?
Haven't
It
seen
was
that
like
one yet.
almost 3 hours.
Yeah,
John Wick 4
there's
was
almost
at least a
no
decent
movie that
movie,
needs
though.
to be that long unless you're doing something that has that much content. Like I think some biopics have, when you're going over someone's life and you have to pick out these really important things. Lord of the Rings has enough material to be 3 hours long,
Right.
But
And-
very few movies I think actually merit that length, and they just become a slog after a while. And, like, if you
Saturated.
just edited out some of the stuff and just trimmed it down, it would be a much better movie, and I would be much more charitable towards it because regardless, none of my other points are going to change. But
Right.
now I'm not going to say, well, at least it was over in 90 minutes. And
well, we've talked about this before, right? Like a story has, like, you're aiming to make this story good and entertaining for people, and if you make a good story and it is a reasonable amount of time, people might like that. If you make a good story and you make it 45 minutes too long, all of a sudden that's become a bad story because people don't want to sit through just a good story. That's what makes the Lord of the Rings such incredible feats, because they were good enough to sustain 3+ hours, which is unheard of. Now, every movie is like, hey, we're going to do it. And to a kind of our mini discussion before this started of why are movies doing that? There's not like a clear, obvious, oh, that's why they're doing it longer. I mean, there's a good point you made, Nathaniel, but also when you're editing, that's one of the hard parts is cutting things out. Like when I make a video for somebody, usually it's you make this video and your product is like 3.5 minutes long, and you're like, oh, our target is 2 minutes. And so you have to figure out what the important parts, again, for me, it's marketing. Like, what are the important things he needs to get to say, and like, how can we get to say those things quicker and more crisp? And then by the end, although you're sad because you're cutting these things out, you're like, oh, I liked that, but by the time you look at it, you're much happier with the result because you're like, oh, I would have hated sitting through another minute and a half of this. Whereas I think that extra step isn't necessarily being taken because they're pumping movies out so quickly that they don't have time to go through all these different rounds or revisions to make cutting things out make sense, because it's effort. It's effort to cut things out and to still make the story make sense.
But and this is where, and I see this in video games too, where it's like, how did this get past any level of quality testing? Like, you sit down and watch it, and you're like, well, that part did nothing for the film. So unless the director is sitting there saying, you cut this out and I kill you, right? Or I I'll trade you this. I'll make this cut when you give me your firstborn child. Like making unreasonable demands because it's their baby and they don't want to take a hatchet to it. Which look, I understand that. Like, oh, I worked really hard on this. I don't want to take it out. But then you got to take the step back and say, does it work as a whole? And maybe you just save that for. And this is the one thing that Blu-ray always had over streaming, like physical release had all his streaming is, hey, here's all this cut content and extra stuff. Like, where does that go on a streaming service, right? Unless you're doing the Snyder cut for everything, which please don't.
Well, let me give my thoughts. Let me get to my thoughts on Little
everything.
Mermaid so we can wrap things up
Yeah.
here. Okay, so the actual original animated one, I'm with Liam in the sense that the big three, those three songs are amazing. I mean, those are the three of the best Disney songs, and they're all in the same movie, which gives it a lot of weight. I also agree with Nathaniel's point in that I think it's mostly pointing towards younger girls because, again, the main conundrum, and this is something that I think they do really well, is that a parent can watch that and say, man, I can sympathize with the dad not wanting their kid to kind of go out there and having to lose that sense of control, to not even listen to them, to just say, nope, you're wrong, and having to realize if you hold them too tight, if you suffocate them, they're going to make some kind of dumb decision. And they do, and then you have to be the one to pay for that. And you're willing to, as the dad, and you sacrifice yourself to get the daughter back. And then you realize at the end, once the happy ending happens, that...
And I appreciate that the remake, for the most part, kept all of that intact.
Right.
So they didn't, to my knowledge, they didn't change anything about Triton or any of that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So he's still like the same. He's a good dad. He's
Right.
just a little overbearing. It backfires, but then he's willing to do what he has to do to make it right.
Right. And so that's what I appreciate about both of the stories. Again, original did it better. The second one did it fine. And so as a parent, you can watch it and get that whole through line and be like, I can relate to the fact that it's hard to give up my kids' safety, but eventually I'm going to have to let them go out there and be adults, right? Obviously, we're not talking mer people and regular life people. We're just talking about your kids eventually maybe dating somebody and going outside of the nest. Whereas a kid might watch that and you have a different perspective in that I can sympathize with viewing my parents like that they just want to control me, and that's the worst thing ever because I'm in love with, the cute boy next door, whatever, if you're a 16-year-old girl, whatever Ariel was. And then you can also sympathize with the fact that once you disobey that, you probably are going to go out and make a stupid decision. And at the end, you have stuff to apologize for, and your dad has stuff to apologize for, and, happy ending. Like once you guys have talked things through and come to a reasonable middle ground, you can proceed with things without being disobedient. So I think from a kid's perspective, you're looking through the lens of her, and you're saying, oh, this dad's kind of the bad character, and he needs to change. And as the adult, you're saying, okay, the kid's kind of a bonehead and they need to change, but you both find things that you need to apologize for. So I think that theme is pretty powerful and is well done from a story perspective because I think a lot of people can watch it from different areas and appreciate it and get something out of it. And the music is good. So for those reasons, excellent. Yeah, maybe it is higher on my list than I thought. I don't know. It had been a while since I'd seen it. So I mean, I enjoyed it. I even thought that the live action one, if the original didn't exist, would have been a bearable movie. Really ugly with the CGI is my final opinion. The song Scuttlebutt, I'm glad we didn't have to talk about it too much because it is awful.
It's an abomination. It's really, truly
really bad, especially in the face of some other banger songs. It is really bad.
Yeah, especially because the other songs they did a really good job on.
Yeah.
Eric's song is just kind of, to me, it's mid. It's fine, not offensive, but it's fine.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I would say that the original Little Mermaid is better than I remembered, and the one in theaters was not as bad as I thought it would be, but in the face of watching the original is still useless, and in some areas just downright upsetting.
Yeah. Well,
Didn't need to be made.
exactly. Here's the biggest problem I have with it is, as we just discussed in very long form, to summarize, let me tell you, no, it's too much. Let me sum up. Everything that it was functionally a beat for beat remake, shot for shot remake. Everything they changed was either neutral or detrimental to the film, especially that ending at the end, which is kind of neuters Eric's entire character. But then it's 50 minutes longer. No idea how. But the thing is, like, if you have access to the original, there is literally zero reason to watch the remake. There is nothing the remake does that elevates it in any way above the original.
And it's like, how do you even do that? Like, and then that's why you got to just throw your hands up and be like, why do you keep making these remakes?
Right. And the answer is money. Lion King, I don't know how Lion King made so much money because the original Lion King is a masterpiece. I don't know why anyone would want to watch a worse version of that. But anyways, we're going to get there. I haven't seen it, so we'll get there.
Yeah.
Mulan, when we get to Mulan, so it's funny because, like Greg said at the starting, these all fall into either a shot-for-shot remake, in which case they're largely pointless, and you might as well just watch the animated one. I think I do somewhat see the appeal of doing live-action versions of things. But for me, I like animation for what it offers that live action stuff doesn't, which in a lot of ways, especially if you watch anime, is expressivity of characters, especially inanimate objects and things that aren't normally human.
Especially
it's really
what all
good
the Disney
at
movies do.
displaying emotions in ways that get across very cleanly because it has shorthands for showing emotions and you can put faces like the Brave Little Toaster. Would you watch a live action Brave Little Toaster where it's literally just a fucking toaster going mer, 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 click click? Like
I
you
was
wouldn't
Little
watch that.
Google, there's
I
like
would
Google
100%.
eyes on the actual real toaster.
I would 100% watch.
Okay, if they did Google eyes on the toaster, I
Live
would watch
action.
that. But if we're following the
Toaster.
Flounder following the example that they've done for these live action remakes, absolutely not.
No.
Right? It'd just be a toaster like sliding around. You wouldn't want to watch that for it'd be 2.5 hours, right? Because they have to make it longer. Right? So to me, animation can fulfill a niche that you can't do with live action. So the only possible reason I can think to see the movie is the novelty of it. And if you're a parent and you just want to like entertain your kid, I think the movie's too long for kids.
Yeah.
I think you'd be better served to just sit them in front of the TV and have them watch the original rather than spending money to go out and got to get snacks, and you got of course you got to take out a loan to get snack. You can't buy popcorn without a decent credit rating, and you know if you're just looking to entertain your kids, you can do that at the movie theater. And if that's what you want to do, you want to day out of the movies, I would say go see the Super Mario Bros. Movie, right?
Yeah.
That's like a more shorter. It's 90 minutes. I think it's like 90 minutes for kids. This one, it's fine. It's not offensive. It's not going to turn your kids into monsters, right? But the original is just superior in every way, and there's no reason to see this over that unless you're just so addicted to novelty that you have to watch something new. So that's my final word.
So wait,
Useless.
what are we going to be watching next? What can the people expect from?
That is a good question. So we watched the one that was in theaters. So now we kind of have free reign. Do we want to go back and do the in order of the remakes?
You're
which would
picking
mean
next. I picked this one.
Oh, I'm picking?
Yeah, you're picking.
I don't want to rewatch live action Mulan. That movie made me cry.
I didn't even know that
in a bad
existed.
movie. It's bad.
I didn't even know the Jungle Book live
You must
action existed
choose.
either.
Oh, there's multiple live action Jungle Books.
Really?
Yeah, but we'll probably do the most recent one, the one with
Watkins.
yeah.
Go ahead, Craig. Can you do it real quick?
I would say
Do your
it's-
impression.
I want to be the king of the swingers hole, the jungle VIP. I reached
bad.
the top and I had to stop,
It's so
and
bad.
that's what's bothering me.
wow.
So bad.
No, I would say start chronologically. Let's do Beauty and the Beast.
Love that.
Ooh, okay. I love
man.
that too.
Because I think the live action one of that one was like fairly well received.
That was
Yeah.
that was actually, in my opinion,
And that was like
the
one of-
least offensive. But
Yeah,
I haven't
and that was like
watched
one
it
of
in
the
a long
first
time.
ones.
Emma
too.
Watson.
Yeah, Emma Watson.
Oh gosh, that was not one of the well received parts. That girl,
Really?
that girl can't sing, man. The girl just like all of her songs are just auto tuned.
Dang.
Do you
Well, I
not
guess we'll find out.
Do you
And
not-
hey,
yeah, you'll.
That makes me sad. Hermione?
in a couple of years, we're going to be doing live action Moana because apparently that needs to come out.
No, dude. Moana's so good.
All right,
They're gonna ruin it.
so Beauty and the Beast next, and
Yeah.
when
Beauty
will
and
this
the
be airing?
I believe we're planning for not next Wednesday or the
The
Wednesday?
following Wednesday, so it'd be the 21st.
21st.
So on the 21st,
And we'll
at
do it. We'll do it live
what time?
at
We'll do it live.
7:30.
Can you do
Is that what-
7:30?
Yeah, I can do 7:30 on Wednesday. If it's on a Wednesday, I can do 7:30.
Yeah, okay.
As long as the Heat aren't still playing, will they still be
The Heat
playing?
will not be still
No,
playing.
they'll
I
have been
apologize.
eliminated far before that.
Okay, or we'll have a championship.
We got our two.
I apologize. We were planning on going live this Wednesday, but we had to pivot because the Heat are in the finals. Go Heat!
Honestly,
But
we could have filmed last Wednesday and you would have been less sad. Or filmed yesterday and you would have been less sad.
We will be live on the 21st at 7:30. We'll send out links. We will try to get this show a little more organized. It's our first time in the new studio. I think it went fairly well. I mean, I'm still working with the switching thing.
I'm happy with it.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get better at the buttons.
Are you going to be producer next time, you think?
We'll move.
Do you want to say whoever picked the movie is the producer, or
Yeah, we can do that. We can move the role. Like we'll just keep shifting to different
We'll just
leads, different hosts,
rotate this
different
way.
co-hosts.
Sure.
Liam will actually have to talk more. I don't know how you're. Are you going to be okay if you're the host?
yeah, you're gonna have to do the heavy lifting.
I don't know, man.
I'll just play a bunch of sound effects to cover the silences. Don't worry, it won't be grating. Me.
All right. Any last thoughts? Any send-offs? How do we want to do this?
I actually,
Nathaniel?
real quick, I have some casting what ifs. Can I hit you guys with this?
Yeah.
I took some notes and I did some research.
Yeah,
So these are recasting opportunities that I think would have made the live action better. Okay.
Yeah, hit me with them.
Keanu Reeves as King Triton.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Lizzo as Ursula.
I think it would have fit. Except, I mean, okay, but hold on. Do you really want to see Ursula twerking? Because I guarantee that would be happening.
Listen, it could have been interesting. Compared to Melissa McCarthy's performance, I think it would have been nice. Danny DeVito as Sebastian. But
Like,
not, no,
just
like
Danny
in
DeVito?
a crab costume.
Dude, I'm so down for this.
Yeah.
That sounds
Those are my three.
amazing.
That's kinda what came-
Actual Danny DeVito.
Yeah, in the crab costume.
So maybe somebody else voice acting Danny DeVito just playing the
I think
crowd.
still
No,
him,
still
but he's
Danny
just in like
DeVito.
a poorly made crab costume. And he's just like kind of like walking around.
I'm trying to think of Danny DeVito's voice, and I'm blanking. Is he just like
He's
fits
a
the
New
role.
York guy.
he's just like he's gruff down here, like hey,
He's
Ariel.
also like 4'6", so that's
Yeah.
kind of like the main reason
He'd
why.
be a big crab though.
Yeah, sure, that's okay though.
That was the worst one. I liked Lizzo as.
You didn't like Danny DeVito as in the crab costume? I thought that was the best one.
I think that's the best one. Danny DeVito in the crab costume. I'm down for that.
So Disney, hire me for casting.
Denied.
That was fast.
That's
Wow,
quick.
that's the fastest I've ever been turned
Yeah,
out.
that was really quick.
Anyways, yeah. So I guess we'll.
So we will see people. I guess it'll be next. Yeah, like we said, the 22nd, 7:30. If you are interested in tuning in, you can. If you want to find
You
us,
can't. You're not. We're not gonna let you. You need to. You gotta buy that VIP pass, baby.
You gotta subscribe. Hit
Yeah.
that
Hit that like button.
notification bell.
Subscribe.
we are on Spotify.
Look at that.
Daily Debated. You can follow us and like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the 4D Podcast or Podcast 4D. I have it backwards there. We're changing
No,
that, right?
it's currently Dearly Debated 4D.
Dearly Debated 4D. All right. So we will update this slide. And if you want to watch more content of me and Nathaniel, we also have The Kitchen Chemist
Yeah.
on YouTube. Check us out. We'll be coming out with some newer content right around the corner, actually.
Yeah, and yeah, season 2 will be launching this fall. It'll be exciting. Well, just a foretaste. I bought a Soda Stream, and we're going to carbonate some things.
Very exciting.
We're going to see what
I'm
happens.
subscribed to Kitchen Chemist. I look every day for new videos.
And he's been disappointed for half a year.
for a long time.
For 6 months, he's been crying. Like, where's my
I think
Kitchen
since I
Chemist?
subscribed, there's been no new videos.
All right.
There should be a new video soonish. I have a couple things to clear up. But anyways,
Send us off, Nathaniel.
yeah. So you can reach us as the ways, obviously, leave a comment. You can also email us, dearlydebated@gmail.com. We have a Twitter, @dearlydebated. But yeah, let us know if we're wrong, and we'll tell you that you're wrong for thinking we're wrong. Goodbye.
Till next time.